Hi there, this is Reading Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and this is chapter 32, the final chapter. As we ride now through coastal manzanita and waxen leaf shrubs, Chris's expression comes to mind. I knew it, he said. This I knew it of Chris's is infectious. We so relate. Didn't we kind of know all along ourselves? Didn't we kind of realize that the narrative of Phaedrus's insanity was kind of falling apart? So it's funny when things line up the way they're supposed to, and they do. The cycle swings into each curve effortlessly, banking so that our weight is always down through the machine, no matter what its angle is with the ground. The way is full of flowers and surprise views, tight turns one after another, so that the whole world rolls and pirouettes and rises and falls away. I like the way he says the way is full of flowers and surprise views. And of course, it's a wonderful metaphor here. The two of them united on the motorcycle, on the road of quality, the way. And the cutting edge of the motorcycle is taking them through that dynamic, beautiful world as it unfolds as they go through it together. I knew it, he said. It comes back now as one of those little facts tugging at the end of a line, saying it's not as small as I think it is. It's been in his mind for a long time, years. All the problems he's given become more understandable. I knew it, he said. So isn't that a beautiful example of how to use that fishing metaphor, how to use that kind of Poincarean waiting for the right fact to emerge? And isn't it beautiful how it's used here at the end of the book? So you could say that Chris was kind of doing this lateral drift with Robert until that fact emerged. We're related to each other in ways we never fully understand, maybe hardly understand at all. He was always the real reason for coming out of the hospital. To have let him grow up alone would have been really wrong. In the dream, too, he was the one who was always trying to open the door. I haven't been carrying him at all. He's been carrying me. And I guess you could say he's been obviously not consciously, because he's only 11 years old. But he's intuitively known all along that in there somewhere was the father that he was missing. And he was holding tight, like I said, lateral drift or stuckness, or however you want to characterize how he was with his father. And in his own way, even with all that childish acting out, those moments of trying to connect, remember them? The times he was really trying to connect, asking a lot of questions often was how he did it. And this often pissed Robert off, by the way. These were somehow stabs at trying to help Phaedrus come out again. Robert may not have known it, but all those questions he was asking might not have been met with that sort of anthropological detachment that Robert has, and with the annoyance, but it might have, but had Phaedrus been there, these might have been answered with enthusiasm and with thought. And I bet you this is, how he communicated with Phaedrus. And, as this goes along, this final chapter, we're going to see that this probably is the case. I knew it, he said. It keeps tugging on the line, saying my big problem may not be as big as I think it is, because the answer is right in front of me. For God's sake, relieve him of his burden. Be one person again. So Chris is giving Robert/Phaedrus gumption to unite, to be, the best he can be, to be the highest quality version of himself he can be. And start imagining what it'd be like if Phaedrus came back into Robert. If Phaedrus started to emerge. What's one thing we know for a fact about Robert? Well, not a risk taker. It's so hot, I feel like leaving this helmet off. I remember that in this state, they're not required. I fasten it around one of the cables. Put mine there too, Chris says. You need it for safety. You're not wearing yours. All right, I agree, and stow his too. Now, do you think Robert would have agreed to that? Beautiful, I holler to Chris. You don't need to shout, he says. Oh, I say and laugh. When the helmets are off, you can talk in a conversational voice after all these days. So I don't even need to explain that analogy. But again, it's just the helmets. I mean, the helmets are off, freedom, etc. Um, they can speak to each other anyway. I don't need to. I don't need to interpret that. You can do just fine for yourself. But it's just another example of how beautifully Pirsig demonstrates the concepts in this book with layers of analogies. Like I said, there's never a sentence in this book that is stray. Everyone means something. And so here's another one, the same concept, another parallel. Chris hangs on to his dad's shoulders, on the motorcycle. He decides to just hang on to his shoulders rather than hug his waist. That's a little dangerous, I say. No, it isn't, I can tell. He probably can. Be careful anyway, I say. It's so different. What? Everything. I could never see over your shoulders before. That's true, I never realized it. And all this time he's been staring into my back. What do you see, I ask. It's all so different. And it's great, like really to read this book really properly, to really, make an effort to understand it. These things just, they're right in front of us all along and we don't see them. Just like these little facts that we don't see. We don't see all these parallels in this book. Usually the first few readings, you just don't. And then you suddenly see that everything lines up. Everything means something. It's wonderful. And then the question you expect Chris to ask his dad at this point. Can I have a motorcycle when I get old enough? If you take care of it. What do you have to do? Lots of things. You've been watching me. Will you show me all of them? Sure. Is it hard? Not if you have the right attitudes. It's having the right attitudes that's hard. Oh, after a while I see he is sitting down again. Then he says, Dad, what? Will I have the right attitudes? I think so, I say. I don't think that will be any problem at all. No, he's not going to have a problem. He's so much like his dad. When he's interested in something, he can really get engaged, like Phaedrus, in a way that might be disconcerting to your average, let's say to your average Robert. And now Pirsig can recognize this, Pirsig the father can recognize this as something positive, not something to fear. So I don't think we're going to hear much more talk of mental illness of father or son. And now we can have this pair, this father and son, who have a lot of similarities, who have traits that could be misconstrued, let's say, by squares as something unstable, but who really have finally united. They united at the bottom of the ocean, and they arise to the surface unencumbered in all manner of ways. And you see how what I've been reading demonstrates that freedom, being freed from a whole host of things in the actual journey, topographical situation. And as they ride through Northern California, trials never end, of course. Unhappiness and misfortune are bound to occur as long as people live. But there is a feeling now that was not here before and is not just on the surface of things, but penetrates all the way through. We've won it. It's going to get better now. You can tell these sorts of things. Yes, you can. So I hope that made sense, and I will see you next Sunday to wrap this all up.